Hello, welcome to Drinking with Comics. My name is Shawn,
And I'm Mike.
and we're going to talk about very specific comic today, or line of comics. And this would be the Skybound Energon universe, specifically the G.I. Joe stuff, which, Mike, I feel like you feel like I do, that it's just reinvigorated. I mean, the brand has never gotten old to me. I'm surrounded by fucking GI Joe classified shit. It's like I carry that into
Yeah,
my middle age. That's my hookers and blow. Um, but I don't know what.
I'm
So
kind of thinking of getting old ones again.
tell me, I don't know. Tell me what you think about. Well, let's start with the most recent. So this week, Cobra Commander #2 came out, right? So let's talk about
Yes,
Cobra Commander. Let's talk about #1 and #2.
love it. Didn't like. I'm sure you're with me on this one. You're reading it. You're like, oh look, he's got a his tank. That car, just a his tank basically, which I love. Um, Steals it from a guy. You're in the woods, and then all of a sudden flashback to Cobra Law, and you're kind of like, oh, we're going here, huh?
Full spoiler. I should have said that at the outset.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point, we're talking about number one, two's out, and we're going to spoil two, too, with theories on number three, four, five, six.
Yes, I think there's only four.
I hope there's six. That's if there's four, I'm going to be very sad because I feel like two issues in, I want more than four issues.
Well, it's going to
I
go to
almost want a year.
it's going to
Yeah,
go to a full-fledged either GI Joe title, or I don't know if they're going to do like IDW did where they had a GI Joe title and a Cobra title,
that would
or
be pretty sweet. I would like to
yeah,
see like what Cobra's doing on Cobra's side and what GI Joe's doing on GI Joe's side, and then if they intersect, but you see it from the other point of views.
yeah,
That would be amazing. I don't think so. I recall hearing it was just going to be the two miniseries and then GI Joe.
okay,
Um, but there's so much great character development in this that's like I want to see more of that before. I'm enjoying this prequel GI Joe titles that I want to see it go longer. I want to see like the other Dreadnoks show up, what Destro's doing in Duke, and
yeah,
we're still like very on the tip of the iceberg on these. And if there's just two more issues, I don't know if they're going to cram that out in time. I hope it's six, but I kind of would like to see a year, like
yeah. I'm
12
pretty sure it's
issues. I
four.
think, yeah,
Let's see what the good old CLZ says. Not that that's or you know what? Here we'll do League of Comic Book Geeks because they usually
okay.
have But yeah, I mean, so obviously Mike mentioned the thing that really sets this apart because when they announced this, so I was already big on Void Rivals because you turned me on to it, and then I was big on Transformers because Daniel Warren Johnson is doing it
Hmm.
for Kirkman and the Energon universe. And I really like the interplay between those two titles, right? And that's kind of what's really caused a stir with this. But so what are they going to offer for GI Joe? Where, I read the Hama original Marvel comic up until I don't know the well, let's just say 120, somewhere around there, and I had better things to do with my time. And also, it just kind of started to suck. And in Larry Hama's own words, it was essentially an ad. So he had people breathe from Mattel or
Yeah, was
Hasbro,
that Ninja
whoever.
Force?
Yeah, well, they were
Like,
breathing down his neck all the time
yeah,
you got to put this in, you got to put this in. And we saw that where the turnaround on some of the characters was like, you could tell he was just like, here, I'll never forget. I think it's number 48, where it's like Sergeant Slaughter walks in and that's like the only issue he's in, or maybe one other one, but he quickly did it because he's like, this is ridiculous. And he said in an interview back then, I drew the line at Cobra Law, not doing it.
yeah,
And honestly, that G.I. Joe cartoon movie, while I have some fondness for it, from seeing it at the time, compared to the Hama, the realism of the Hama comic book, it sucks. It's like
yeah.
it's so
Well, I mean,
sci-fi.
for me, the cartoon is, like, hey, we're going to fight, oh, whatever crazy Cobra scheme got this day. And then, the comic was, which, is the one I remember having. I don't know if I had it or my friend had it, but somehow I got it, Snake Eyes, Stalker, Storm Shadow out fighting Vietnam War.
Yep.
Two completely different stories.
Yep.
But yeah, the Cobra Law stuff was kind of a surprise in this. Yeah. But I liked it. It works. It works in a bigger because there's a bigger universe that they're building in this thing. And sure, why not have an organic based society in the thing in the wherever they're at, the Arctic? I can't remember. It's been a long time since I watched the movie.
Well, I don't think that's where they are in the comic. I believe they're like at the bottom of one of the oceans. Maybe it's the Arctic. I'm not positive.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So according to League of Comic Geeks, number 5 is the finale of the Cobra Commander, and so I'm assuming it's also of the Duke. I feel like the whole idea of Cobra Law as this like organic technology on Earth, I have a feeling it's going to tie into Void Rivals because that just kind of makes sense to me. But it really feels at home. And also, previously we've always had G.I. Joe is one thing, Transformers is one thing. And the only time they cross over, it always feels kind of forced in a way. Whereas here we're starting from the very get-go. The explanation
Mm-hmm.
behind Cobra's technology is that they have fucking Megatron as a hostage, right? And they're reverse
Uh,
engineering his tech.
wouldn't call him a hostage as much as a
Well,
prisoner, I would
Well,
guess.
prisoner. There you go. Sorry, that's the word I
Yeah.
wanted. But I mean, that right there. So it's fundamentally ingrained in the origin of Cobra. And then also Duke has this encounter in I think it's the second Transformers issue. And then that kicks off the events of the Duke series, which will eventually kick off the
Yes.
G.I. Joe team, right?
Yes.
So it's there at the inception.
I definitely want to touch on that a little bit later because I really enjoyed a lot, which shocked me.
Talk about it
But back to
now.
Cobra. Talk about now, but I want to talk about Cobra.
Okay, talk about Cobra.
Let's talk about Cobra. Like for example, like this really lame Cobra costume from like version 5 of the 90s Cobra toy line is in there with the gold helmet and red visor. I think that toy came with like a sound box or something. That's how obscurely weird that is. And I like the just in general Cobra Law in issue 1, but I want to talk and I also like that he's Old Snake. Did you catch that? When he's
No,
wearing the
wait.
trench coat and the hat, you know who Old Snake is?
Oh, from the Transformers show, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
dressed up
yeah.
as Old Snake
That's right. I
basically.
didn't catch that, but you're 100% correct.
Who do you think the guy is? His partner
Oh,
in this?
I think it's Nemesis. Well, okay, so Nemesis Enforcer is the character that we know from the movie, but now I
Yes.
know Classified has announced as a name in the pipeline for their figures, Nemesis Immortal. So I don't know if
Okay.
if that's carrying over to this or whatnot, but I know what's your theory?
I am 99% sure you're right. I kind of got Nemesis Enforcer vibes, but they're definitely setting up something with Zartan in this
Yeah.
because the Energon transforms you.
Oh, interesting. Dude, you might
So
be right.
what if that's Zartan? Because he's all about disguises,
And this is the
and he's
origin of his
got this.
power.
I guarantee we're going to get the origin of Zartan's power in this because you haven't seen him yet, and he's in the is obviously dealing with the Dreadnoks now. It's going to happen, and he's going to show up in one of these issues. But I can't help but wonder if maybe that's Zartan,
It
if
can't be
not
though,
someone else.
because the Dreadnoks, and if Zarana is in number 2 and she's kind of like corralling the Ripper and Buzzer, the Dreadnoks, at the
Oh, I
swamp,
know.
you know what I mean? So that wouldn't make sense then. I mean, I guess there's a way they could probably do it, but I mean, it's a
I
great
mean,
theory.
it's that's my 10% theory. My other 90% is Nemesis Enforcer,
Your math is
uh,
off, but that's
which
fine.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, my
uh,
1% theory is that it could be. Thing. It seems weird that Nemesis Enforcer was adapting to human life and being able to drive a car so easily. Uh,
well, for all we know, in this Energon universe, automobiles were a product of Cobra Law technology somehow getting out, 100 years ago. So into
yeah,
the regular
all
society.
old Ford decided was an
Yeah.
actual member of Cobra Law years ago.
You never know. That'd be an interesting
Yeah,
twist. What did you think about? So I really like the Dreadnoks. However, there's the one thing that gives me pause, and that's they've done away with their British. It seems like they're rednecks and not expat Brits, right? Which is a
I,
fundamental element of the character, so that bugs me a little bit. But then to counter that bugging me, you get like the scene where Cobra Commander walks into their little shack and there's literally Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque like body parts hanging from hooks and shit, you know?
oh, and they're killing guys,
Yeah, with a
dragging them in
chainsaw.
their thunder machine and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah. How
it's
cool to see the
they're
Thunder Machine.
brutal. Oh man, I kind of was hoping to transform to Soundwave a little bit, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Right.
but it's good.
And it's interesting because they had announced the primary cast for this Cobra Commander series was going to be Cobra Commander Mercer, who was that character in the movie that was an part of Slaughter's Marauders, right? The three
Okay,
guys, and he was the ex-Viper. So it's him, Cobra Commander, Zarana, and I feel like it might have been one other, maybe one other person where maybe Destro was going to be kind of the first characters they dealt with. And I thought, wow,
so
what a weird selection of characters.
is Mercer Nemesis Enforcer then?
So that could be too. That could very well
Yeah,
be
I
that it's
didn't know.
Mercer.
I didn't hear about them. I think I vaguely remember hearing about Mercer, but I don't see. Yeah, I wonder if he's Mercer then.
Could be.
Um,
Well, so what were your thoughts on
always love seeing them. They're I love seeing the Thunder Machine. I like Zarana, kind of starting off with the two best, Ripper and Buzzsaw, and yeah, like
Buzzer?
Buzzer.
Yeah.
Buzzsaw's a transformer.
Yeah. A cassette.
Yeah, but yeah, it was fun watching them kind of just be them. And oh, wait a minute, like I didn't even notice that they had donuts in this.
Yes, yes, he's holding a donut. When he's pointing at Cobra Commander, he's holding a fucking donut, a pink frosted donut.
Wow, I didn't even notice that.
Assuming they chug the grape soda on the way.
Yeah, do we even need that?
But if you do the donut, you got to do the grape soda, I feel like.
Yeah,
Uh,
I like that they're like just 2 blocks away from like an amusement park swamp too, which I think was in the comic book that Zartan had an amusement park
oh my
in the
God, I think you're
swamp.
correct.
Or it
I
wasn't in
th
the comic book, it was in the TV show.
it was in the TV show. Yeah, it was in the
Yeah.
cartoon. I'm
They
pretty sure you
like
are
went
correct.
there, yeah. All the stuff this brain remembers. Can't do algebra, but I'll tell you what Cobra Commander was wearing in the fifth episode.
I'm right there with you, man.
Uh yeah, I like that Zorana shows up. Old crush of mine when I was a kid. Explains a lot about my life. And yeah, I just can't wait to see where it goes from here.
So what about that final image of, so do you take those to be like mutated crocodiles, I guess?
I think they're just normal crocodiles. Yeah, I
No,
guess
because
they
he,
are slightly mutated.
well, he's going towards the
Oh,
Energon source, right? And if you look at that, there's
the
below that,
Energon's in the bottom. Yeah, I didn't even
yeah, and
notice that.
their eyes are trailing pink.
They
So
are they are transformed.
that makes
Yeah,
me wonder if they're going to use Crocmaster, one of my personal favorites, and my figure is sitting right here next to me, but you can't see it. It makes me
nice.
wonder if they're going to use Crocmaster as a Dreadnought because he is kind of, or an affiliate of the Dreadnoughts.
I don't know, or if he just that's his part of the swamp. Like all the Cobra people just hang out the swamp, the same swamp. Cobra
Yeah, that
Commander's
could
like,
be
yeah,
the.
yeah, guys, come on out. We'll just we'll take over the world.
Why? I mean, he's really going to have an easy time recruiting if they all like just, here, I made 10 copies, fill these out.
Yeah, that's the other thing that like makes me sad is he's got to build an army still. He's not going to build that army in 4 issues or five
Well,
issues.
the cover for number 5 shows him standing on a podium or like an elevated dais addressing a legion of
Oh,
what
okay.
look like troops. So I don't know, I don't know how we get from there to there. I don't know if there's going to be a time jump. No, they're Cobra Troopers.
That's a lot of story to get to from being in a swamp to you know fighting alligators in the swamp with one guy and having an army in 3 issues. That seems to be a big jump.
Quite a
I'd
well.
like to
So
see
that
that explained more. Is what I'm getting at.
yeah, I think they will.
I'm sure they'll do a great job of it. It just I'm worried that it's going to be a little rushed.
Yeah, it literally the solicitation for this issue says to build an army, Cobra Commander makes a deal with a powerful ally that can't be trusted. Now that it's started, can the Cobra threat ever be stopped? Uh,
Which I bet that powerful ally that can't be trusted is Duke's very own Destro. Look at that segue, the Duke.
that would be interesting. So talk about Duke. I like Duke. You like it a lot more than I do, but I do like it.
The concept of Duke, who like here's the, obviously we're spoiling this whole thing. The concept that I like about Duke is that he lost his best friend in Transformers issue 2, sees that there's these giant robots, kind of goes kind of crazy looking for these giant robots, basically finds like, and I'm not saying this to get like political, but it's the only thing I can think of that's like pop culturally enough to like make sense to reference
Hmm.
QAnon groups
Hmm.
to like go and find these Transformers, and instead finds it's like joining QAnon to stop the sex traffickers. Then you find undercover somehow magically uncover 9/11. Like it's like he's now I found Mars and Cobra instead, and he instantly thinks like, oh, that's them. They're the ones that created the robots. I gotta stop them. And I love the fact that he's kind of crazy enough, like, oh, well, no, I guess sentient giant transforming robots aren't real. It's just this Destro guy's making them. So I'm going
Right,
to
right.
stop him. I love that jump of conclusion. It's probably the most realistic jump of conclusion I've ever seen because we know that Transformers are real and Destro is not related to them in any sort of way. But the fact that he doesn't know that, which is going to make an interesting plot point when he actually eventually meets the Transformers and goes,
Yeah,
"Oh hell, you guys are real. Crap,
yeah,
I gotta stop you." Yeah, it's like kicking that can down the road, but in a good way,
yeah.
and
That's well
setting
said.
up the Cobra. Yeah, so I like that it does that. I love that the first issue ends with him getting called by General Hawk that they gotta bring him in. We need to call the experts to bring him in. And instantly, I'm sure you thought the same thing that I thought. One of those experts was going to be Snake Eyes.
Yeah,
And it wasn't. It was Rock and Roll and Stalker,
yeah,
who are characters I think don't get enough love in the G.I. Joe universe. They're the original badasses. Stalker is one of my favorite characters. Rock and Roll's this, you know, that figure you had, like, he's got the bullets wrapped around him. He's got the
yep.
big guns. It's like, like, what? That's the big gun guy. We got to get him. And I like that we got them instead of Snake Eyes. There was a reference to Snake Eyes in it, but I like that they were the two that showed up and not the, hey everyone, it's Snake Eyes.
Well,
Yay,
yeah.
Snake Eyes is here.
Snake Eyes is very much the Wolverine. He Snake Eyes is to GI Joe as a franchise what Wolverine is to X-Men, and so
Yeah,
he's kind of inescapable. And I love the character, and
same
I've always
here.
loved, but we've reached a point, much like Wolverine, where I'm like, back the fuck off, because now at this point more is less, and I would just rather like I'm just it's strip mining, So I agree. I was really happy to see, and also like I pretty much only buy the Cobra. I don't buy all of the classified figures, but the ones I buy are all Cobra, right? Other than I did buy Snake Eyes. That was like the second one I ever bought, but um
I was on the same boat with, like, I collected the 25th anniversary and
yeah, I
on
remember them.
ones a couple years ago, and
Yeah.
I got all the Cobra ones, and of course I bought all the Snake Eyes ones because he was cool, and I think I bought Stalker. And that was the only Joe I own is Stalker.
I mean, the Cobras, the
Um,
designs are just cooler, but the rock and roll
yeah.
classified character, which this is directly based on,
Oh, because I
is
noticed he has the
really badass.
tattoo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's really, really badass. I haven't bought him. I probably won't, but it's still, I was glad to see that version.
yeah, and I like that when he shows up, he's playing loud music,
Yep.
and literally. laying down suppression fire like a
Yep.
madman in the middle of, like on
Yeah.
American soil. That's nuts.
Yeah.
And it's all issue two, and then Stalker shows up and takes him out with a snake eyes kick. And I also enjoy like another character I love, which going to the classified figures, this one almost got me into it. Clutch
Yeah.
and the
Oh
Vamp.
man. I got the original Vamp sitting on my shelf right in front of me. I don't have Clutch anymore. If I do, he's in pieces.
But yeah, that it's only $100 for that Clutch and Vamp. That's very tempting.
Yeah, it is. It's really, really nice.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Shawn from Drinking with Comics. Just want to invite anybody and everybody who's into G.I. Joe and G.I. Joe Classified to go ahead and check out and follow Viper Island. It's a father-son YouTube show. We are not affiliated in any way. I just think that they're like amazing. So yeah, check out Viper Island. They hit all the news. Great fan first talk show. They often break new figures and stuff really, really early before anybody else. So great, great YouTube show, Viper Island. They've done just such an outstanding fucking job with those toys. I mean, they're it's
Yeah.
a shame like the Zarana figure's badass, but it's one that much like the Firefly figure that they released, there's been a lot of QC problems with it. And I bought Firefly and I'm not super happy with it. Its abdomen is really loose or whatever. So I've seen a
Oh,
number of people have opened their Zaranas and one of the arms has fallen off. So I'm like, man,
really?
yeah. So on Prime, when I go on Prime and look at the figures, it's like $8 sometimes. You know how Prime is constantly trying to goad you into buying shit by moving the price back and forth.
Yeah, I get the ads for them all the time. It's like, oh, I'm tempted, $8. But
Yeah,
at the same
I
time,
was very
like,
tempted.
I'm trying to I realized in my head, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go back to the finish out the 25th anniversary line I never finished, and maybe buy those GI Joes that I want from that line. While I can still get them at a decent price, at the same price as the classifieds.
Right.
But my problem was if I wanted to get it, all the first ones were unavailable. They were sold out instantly. You had to buy them online. So I gave up. I didn't bother. You know, set one was gone, set two was gone. I almost bought I was gonna maybe buy the Alley Viper and a bat, which would have set that roll going, but they never showed up. I never found them.
The bat I bought two of the original bats. I mean they've kind of overdone like there's the quinceanera bat at this point. It's like okay, come on. But the original ones I ordered from Planet Earth, and one of the things I do where like if you go on Pulse's site, they'll sell out, but then you can go to like plant Entertainment Earth, that's what it is. Entertainment
Yeah.
Earth or Amazon. I try to go to Amazon last because fuck Amazon, they're a giant company, but I'll go to one of these other third-party sellers, and they usually have them available for pre-order. So I did that with the Techno
Oh,
Viper. I paused on buying it from Pulse. It sold out, and I just went on, I think, Entertainment Earth and ordered it. I have to do with that with Big Boa too. I really like that character. Oh my God, this is turning into a total fucking nerd out, but that's fine. That's what the
yeah.
show is about.
Um,
Uh, Real quick, what are you drinking?
Larceny bourbon.
Ooh, does it make you want to steal shit?
No,
Well,
makes me want to go on eBay and buy some 10-year-old trans GI Joes
I know
that
that. I
I
know the
didn't get
feeling.
when the movie came out.
I know the
Uh,
fucking feeling. Oh, that's
yeah,
hysterical. I just have the standard Sierra Nevada.
nice. Yeah.
So real quick, going over to Transformers, what did you, and there's going to be a spoiler for the most recent issue, number 5. What
Yes.
did you think about who showed up at the end? Because I was like, oh man.
Okay. I need a refresher. I read that a couple weeks ago.
Fucking Devastator.
Oh, yes.
Oh, dude, and he is enormous. Like the way that Daniel Warren Johnson drew the perspective here, where it's like Prime, who is running around with one arm shredded and the other arm gone. So he has Megatron's cannon arm, complete with the cannon on, which I just thought was brilliant, right? I mean, like, oh my God, it's so cool.
Where in the timeline does this work with Cobra getting Megatron, who obviously doesn't have an arm?
We'll find out.
Yeah, I feel like we need a little timeline explanation with this here because this is a little one week you're like as it came out, I remember reading like Cobra Commander, like, oh, he's got Megatron. Next week, Optimus Prime's ripping off Megatron's arm.
No, he didn't
Like,
rip it off. It was there. I forget where it was, but he didn't actually take
but
it from. We
Megatron
haven't
was with him, wasn't it?
No, we haven't seen Megatron in the
I
pages of Transformers. The way that Daniel Warren Johnson draws this whole sequence where the Constructicons come in, because it's like Prime and Ratchet and I forget who else are approaching in vehicle form the Ark, embedded in the mountain. And then the next page, it just shows, I don't know who the dump truck Constructicon is, smashing in Prime. I can never say this word, but the sound effect, the onomatopoeia, isn't like
yeah.
crush or boom or whatever. It's heavy metal. Just thought it was so fucking Daniel Warren Johnson. If people out there like this, go read Murder Falcon. Fuck, that book is just a fucking metalhead, like a love letter to metal. Oh, just everything about the way that they come into this, and then like the page of them combining. Oh, dude, I have to say, like Robert Kirkman, I fucking love you, Robert Kirkman. I mean, you gave us how many years of the best comic since Preacher, and that's The Walking Dead.
I was trying to think of the lame one, the dinosaur agents.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't read everything he does, but like
No.
I liked Die Die Die, and which was basically like an ultra violent version of GI Joe, like 100%. There's even the characters that are like, oh, this is clearly Snake
Well,
Eyes and Storm Shadow.
do you remember he played with he did some He-Man comics way, way back in the day. He did a Trap Jaw one that was really fucking good.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes. Yes, that's when I first like heard like when I first putting him together because I don't really like follow writers as much as like read them, look at the name, go like, oh,
Hmm.
this is pretty good. What's the name on it? All right, Kirkman was it? And then I think I literally might have picked up Walking Dead because of that Trap Jaw comic. If the
Oh,
timeline
wow.
correct that came out first, because he was just still doing like he didn't really have anything of his own out yet. And I just remember going like, "Oh yeah, that Trap Jaw comic was pretty good. I'll check this out."
Well, I'm glad you did,
Yeah,
man, because you turned me on to that. And you turned me on to this too, because you're the one that got me
yeah,
into Void Rivals. And that's why I'm
yeah.
here. You know,
That's what I do. I sell comics.
you do. You're very good at it. First one's free, and then, I'm coming back like, man, I'll suck your dick for some Energon Universe. Oh,
Uh,
no, I won't. But anyway,
is
oh,
so I have not been reading Void Rivals because you
it's
bring
fucking
up
awesome.
Energon Universe, and
It's
I
awesome.
will get back to it when it comes out in trade. I think I'm gonna buy them all when they come out in trade. Um, but is Energon a prominent thing in that too?
Well, I think it seems like all the series revolve around these people trying to get Energon, but we haven't
Yeah,
really experienced like a large deposit or amount of it yet. So it seems like we're all starting from below, like, a baseline.
because I like how the main plot line of the or one of the things about Transformers is source management. Like,
Yeah, that's
oh
what they
well,
all are.
we need we need Jazz. He's the one that's going to help in the situation. Bring him back online,
Yep.
and then he's offline again. And everyone's just trying to get everyone awake, but picking the right ones to do it.
The way that Starscream destroyed Thundercracker in order to bring Skywarp back, which I was like, what the fuck is the difference? Like one's purple and one's periwinkle. But I thought you say it exactly right. It's resource management, and I really fucking like it a lot. And I guess
Yeah,
so. GI Joe is going to be obviously the force that is going to try and legislate resource management because all of these forces are just willing to do whatever it takes to get it. Cobra, Decepticons. I don't know. It's going to be
I guess like Energon is the arms war of the that
yeah,
universe. Yeah,
yeah.
everyone's trying to get it. At least for now. I'm sure GI Joe issue 5. Cobra Commander is going to have a crazy real estate scheme that he's going to pull off and try to take over an island or something in Springfield and
Rock Beach,
yeah. Oh yeah, it was at
Springfield.
the Rock. the rockets on the restaurants. Some stupid,
Yeah.
crazy scheme that GI Joe will figure out because their aunt and uncle owns a restaurant.
I mean, and dude, just think about this. I hadn't even thought of this. Eventually, we're going to get to a point, hopefully not right away, but we're going to be looking at the introduction of Serpentor directly from Cobra La again, but in a much better capacity, I'm sure, because obviously he's going to be on the outs at some point, and then that's going to be the Cobra La solution to send him.
Yeah,
Um,
it would
that's
be
kind of
interesting to see how that
exciting.
pans out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of exciting.
I look forward to see this version of Doctor Mindbender.
Same.
Will he wear a shirt?
No, no,
Let's
he's
make
like
him
a
different. We'll put him a shirt on him.
yeah. There you go. He could have a Husker Du shirt and then those suspenders and the cape. Zen Arcade. I feel like the color scheme would go well. Uh
Yeah.
oh, okay. Well, I know you're not reading it. Real quick, I want to wrap up, but I just want to give a shout out. I hadn't read Larry Hama's GI Joe continuity. It left Marvel at some point. IDW picked it back up. It went another 100 something issues and then ended. And now the same continuity is going at Skybound. I picked it up with 301, the first Skybound issue. And I've read now 301, 302, 303, 304. And it's kind of the thing where like I know he's just like I know he feels passionate about it and the fans feel passionate about it. I feel like it's maybe overstayed its welcome a little bit, but it's not bad by any sense of the imagination. And it's definitely become less realistic because if you go 304 issues,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to figure out some way to keep it interesting.
I did read 301 and I did enjoy it.
Like at first I was like, wait a minute, they killed Serpentor during the Cobra Civil War in like issue 77 of the original series, like back in the
Yeah.
80s. But the idea that this isn't that Serpentor, it's Serpentor Khan, and so that Mindbender had like made another one, which I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I like the ingenuity in the writing there. Like I like that. So I'm reading it for now. I haven't subbed to it. Probably the first time I missed an issue, but I will say this. This is previously a book when IDW was doing this, because I remember I almost bought the last issue just out of some, morbid curiosity, not realizing it was going to continue, and I didn't. But there was like, it's a book that it's really just the shops are ordering it for the subscribers. They're not putting many on the shelf, right?
No, sales on net was literally just GI Joe fans. I think we would order like 10.
So,
And now we order about 50.
yeah,
So it
dude,
is picked up, which is
there were
weird because
so many issues of this yesterday at
yeah,
Rick's. I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy fuck, man.
it's doing way better than it did originally. It's the art is great. I like the artist in it.
Yeah,
I
Chris
just wish
Mooneyham.
yeah, it doesn't. My only complaint about it is, and I'm not trying to be overly negative about it, is like I need a recap of what like the first like the issue I read. They're flying around a hovercraft. Cobra Commander's in the back. Like, wait, why is Cobra Commander in the back of the GI Joe team when you're tech? I enjoyed. So I enjoyed the storming of the beach
Hmm.
of Cobra Commander, like Cobra Island, but they didn't really explain like where all the pieces were. Like,
Oh, it
why
was
is
a total
Cobra?
cold open.
Yeah, it was a total open that like made no sense at all, other than like this total badass fight that's like, ooh, this is fun. But because they didn't explain why Cobra Commander's in the back or jumping out of the thing, or I think Cobra Khan, like you said, Serpentor was dead. Obviously, there's a new one with a mustache.
Yeah.
Um, and everyone's just trying to like they were trying to create a disease. I enjoyed the chaos of it all when I read it, but because I didn't know what was going on, I didn't feel like I needed to stick around with it. I could have used like a previously on GI Joe.
Dude, I get 100%.
Yeah.
I understand, like 100% agree. I didn't even. I'm sure somewhere online there's a recap. I haven't even bothered.
Oh yeah.
But you're right because it did pick up as if it was just the next issue, which it essentially it is the next issue from
Yes.
the last
There was,
IDW. But
and that was a big double 3 2 page or double book 300 special anniversary issue because it
Yeah.
was issue 300. And I remember I looked at it a little bit. The art's completely different. It ends with them like, and we're gonna go to Cobra Island, and it's like, oh, cool. That's not a good way to end a book that just got canceled.
Yeah, I have to say, if you were reading that book after all that time and that was the last issue, not knowing that it was coming back under, the Skybound imprint, I would have been like, are you fucking kidding me?
I feel
What?
like at that point, Lara Hama must have known.
Well, he definitely knew. Oh, dude, of
I'm
course he knew.
sure.
He
Yeah,
knew.
I'm sure they knew who bought it. They were like being hush hush about it, and then Kirkman was smart enough to go, "We're going to keep your book going,"
Yeah.
obviously, because he probably wanted to see what happened next.
Well, and it's just a legacy. It's like at this point, I feel like everybody involved, Hama included, like, eh, people read it. Why? Why take it away? People enjoy
Yeah.
it. I mean, just based on some of the interviews I've heard with him over the years, I feel like he's probably like, I'm stretching a little thin, but I don't know. He's got his chops, man. Because again, I
Yeah.
really like some of the stuff that he's done, and even though it is now well away from that realism of what you were talking about, like the original series 26 and 27, where it's like the Snake Eyes origin, right? And you get all of the Vietnam stuff with Wade Collins, who just died in 301, and they laid the rest in 302, and like all these
Oh yeah. I don't know who Wade Collins
he
is.
he was the guy that was in that squad in Vietnam with Stalker, Storm Shadow, who was Tommy
Was
then.
he?
Yeah, and Snake, and I forget there were two other guys. I forget who they were, but Wade, I think either was shot or stepped on a landmine or something, and they left and assumed he was dead. And then he ended up like spending time in a POW camp, if I remember correctly. When he comes back to the States, it's the typical people are spitting on him. And the person that gave him a purpose was Cobra Commander, right? So he was a Crimson
Oh,
Guard. He underwent because it's one of the things I always loved about the Hama continuity. The Crimson Guards or the CGs, they're all Fred. So Fred 1, Fred 2, Fred 3, and they would
yes.
all get that plastic surgery to look exactly the same. So if Fred 2 dies, they just rotate one of the other Freds in to live with his family. And I just it's that man, that as a kid when I read that, I was like, that it just blew my fucking mind. Uh
What what a great explanation for you to go out and buy 30 of the same figure.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, let's face it, if money were
Well, I
no
need a
object,
Fred
I'd
one
have
and a
so
Fred
many
two.
Vipers. All right, well, I say let's wrap it, but we'll be back again to talk about more good things from people who care. But
Yes.
until then, I mean, I'm nursing this. I'm
I'm
Shawn.
sucking on water. I'm Mike. That's Shawn.
Hi, I'm Shawn. Join me and my friends every week for the Horror Vision, where we talk about horror movies.